Okay, hello. Magandang hapon na naman sa inyo. Ito pa rin ang inyong Lolo Ray para sa isa na namang edisyon ng pagbabasa-basa natin ng mga batas, no? At itutuloy lang natin habang nagpapababa tayo ng kinain ng ating minerienda. Itutuloy natin yung National Internal Revenue Code along with train law, kasama yung mga pagbabagong ginawa ng train law. At nandirito na tayo sa Title 6, which is yung excise taxes on certain goods, sabi niya. Chapter 1, babasahin natin yung general provisions. So nagsisimula ang National Internal Revenue Code, yung chapter na ito, sa Section 129 ng National Internal Revenue Code. Pero dahil may pagbabagong ginawa ang train law, basahin natin yung naging pagbabagong ito. Okay? So, Section 129. Goods subject to excise taxes. Ito. Sabi rito, goods and services subject to excise taxes. Okay, Section 129. Excise taxes apply to goods manufactured or produced in the Philippines for domestic sales or consumption or for any other disposition, and to things imported, as well as services performed in the Philippines. So ito yung dinagdag, no, ng train law, as well as services performed in the Philippines. The excise tax imposed herein shall be in addition to the value-added tax imposed under Title 4. For purposes of this title, excise taxes herein imposed and based on weight or volume, capacity, or any other physical unit of measurement shall be referred to as specific tax, and an excise tax herein imposed and based on selling price or other specified value of the goods or service shall be referred to as ad valorem tax. Okay. Yan yung mga excise taxes, di ba? Ano siya? Nag-a-apply siya sa goods daw, manufactured and produced in the Philippines, di ba? For domestic sales or pangkonsumo dito sa Pilipinas, as well as services performed in the Philippines. Okay. Balik na tayo sa National Internal Revenue Code, Section 130, filing of return and payment of excise tax on domestic products. Letter A. Sandali. Para lang mas maintindihan natin, ano? Kasi anong kaibahan niya sa ibang buwis? 'Di ba? Bakit tayo laging ang dami namang uri ng buwis? Para saan ba ang excise tax? Meaning na lang natin. Sige. Basahin na lang natin yung meaning niya. Naghanap lang ako sa Google, no? Sabi rito, an excise tax is a legislated tax on specific goods. Specific goods po siya. Or services at purchase such as fuel, tobacco, and alcohol. Yun yung kadalasan na ginagawa. Usually, mga bisyo, no? Okay. Ang example niya rito is fuel, pero hindi ko sure. Parang may nabasa yata tayo in the past na may ibang regulasyon sa fuel. Ewan ko lang, pero baka excise tax pa rin ang pinapato sa kanya. Excise taxes are intranational taxes imposed within a government infrastructure rather than international taxes imposed across country borders. Okay, federal tax na to eh. It's usually collected from motor fuel sales, airline tickets, tobacco, and other goods and services. Okay, so para lang mas malinaw sa atin, siya ay buwis sa pinapataw sa specific goods. Ang sabi rito, manufactured or produced in the Philippines. Okay, dito sa ating batas, yun ang ibig niyang sabihin. Okay, Section 130, filing of return and payment of excise tax on domestic products. Letter A. Persons liable to file a return, filing of return on removal and payment of tax. Sino ba yung mga persons liable to file a return? Sabi rito, every person liable to pay excise tax imposed under this title shall file a separate return. Separate return daw. For each place of production, setting forth among others the description and quantity or volume of products to be removed, the applicable tax base, and the amount of tax due thereon. Provided, however, that in the case of indigenous petroleum, natural gas, or liquefied natural gas, the excise tax shall be paid by the first buyer, purchaser, or transferee for local sale, barter, or transfer, while the excise tax on exported products shall be paid by the owner, lessee, concessionaire, or operator of the product. Without the payment of the tax, the owner or person having possession thereof shall be liable for the tax due thereon. So, ano siya, every person daw na liable to pay the tax. Siyempre, alam mo naman kung ikaw yon, kung liable ka ba. Okay. Number 2, time for filing of return and payment of the tax. Unless otherwise specifically provided, sabi niya, the return shall be filed in the excise tax paid by the manufacturer or producer before removal of domestic products uh, from place of production. Provided that the excise tax on locally manufactured petroleum products and indigenous petroleum levied under sections 148 and 151A4 respectively of this title shall be paid within 10 days from the date of removal of such products for the period from January 1, 1998 to June 30, 1998. Ayan. Huwag nating basahin yung mga 1998, 1999 pa yan. That the excise tax on non-metallic mineral or mineral products or quarry resources shall be due and payable upon removal of such products from the locality where mined or extracted. So kapag minina mo o in-extract mo yung mga mineral products or non-metallic mineral products, ano na siya? Magiging due and payable na siya upon removal of such products from the locality where mined or extracted. Yun ang sinasabi niya. But with respect to the excise tax on locally produced or extracted metallic, mineral, or mineral products, the person liable shall file a return and pay the tax within 15 days after the end of the calendar quarter when such products were removed, subject to conditions as may be prescribed by rules and regulations to be promulgated by the Secretary of Finance upon the recommendation of the Commissioner. For this purpose, the taxpayer shall file a bond in an amount which approximates the amount of excise tax due on the removals for the said quarter. The foregoing rules notwithstanding for imported mineral or mineral products, whether metallic or non-metallic, the excise tax due thereon shall be paid before their removal from customs custody. So, pag in-import mo siya, kinuha mo sa ibang bansa, darating na siya rito, bago mo kunin o tanggalin siya dun sa pangasiwa ng customs, dun mo siya babayaran ng excise tax. Place of filing of return and payment of the tax. Except as to the Commissioner otherwise permits, the return shall be filed with and the tax paid to any authorized agent, bank, or revenue collection officer or duly authorized city or municipal treasurer in the Philippines. Exceptions. Sabi, no? Yung Secretary of Finance, upon the recommendation of the Commissioner, may prescribe, no? Letter A, the time for filing the return at intervals other than the time prescribed in the preceding paragraphs for a particular class or classes of taxpayers after considering factors such as volume of removals, adequate measures of security, and such other relevant information required to be submitted under the pertinent provisions of this code. Letter B, yung manner daw. Manner and time of payment of excise taxes other than as herein prescribed under a tax prepayment, advance deposit, or similar scheme. So, pwedeng mag-prescribe ng pamamaraan ng pagbabayad yung Secretary of Finance, no? Sabi rito, in the case of locally produced or extracted minerals and mineral products or quarry resources, where the mine site or place of extraction is not the same as the place of processing or production, the return shall be filed with and the tax paid to the Revenue District Office having jurisdiction over the locality where the same are mined, extracted, or quarried. Provided, however, that for metallic minerals processed abroad, The return shall be filed and the tax due thereon paid to the Revenue District Office having jurisdiction over the locality where the same are mined, extracted, or quarried. No? Dali lang ah. Ba yung charger ko? Ayan. Okay. Letter B. Man tayo. Section ano pa rin tayo? 130. Determination of gross selling price. Sabi niya. Of goods subject to ad valorem tax. Okay. Okay, unless otherwise provided, the price excluding the value-added tax at which the goods are sold at wholesale in the place of production or through their sales agents to the public shall constitute the gross selling price. If the manufacturer also sells or allows such goods to be sold at wholesale in another establishment of which he is the owner or in the profits of which he has an interest, the wholesale price in such establishment shall constitute the gross selling price. Sabi niya. Okay. Such nawala. Ayan. Should such price be less than the cost of manufacture plus expenses incurred until the goods are finally sold, then a proportionate margin of profit not less than 10% of such manufacturing cost and expenses shall be added to constitute the gross selling price. Letter C. Manufacturers or producers' sworn statement. Every manufacturer or producer of goods or products subject to excise taxes shall file. Itong mga manufacturer na to ay dapat daw mag-file with the commissioner on the date or dates designated by the latter, and as often as may be required, magpa-file sila ng sworn statement showing, among other information, the different goods or products manufactured or produced and their corresponding gross selling price or market value, together with the cost of manufacture or production, plus expenses incurred or to be incurred until the goods or products are finally sold. Yan siguro para bigyan din sila ng ano no, ng mga allowable deductions, 'di ba, ni commissioner no. Baka ganun. Kasama yung expenses mo eh. Letter D, credit for excise tax on goods actually exported. When goods locally produced or manufactured are removed and actually exported without returning to the Philippines, whether so exported in their original state or as ingredients or parts of any manufactured goods or products, any excise tax paid thereon shall be credited or refunded. Yan. Kasi ginawa mong for export eh. Upon submission of the proof of actual exportation and upon receipt of the corresponding foreign exchange payment, provided that the excise tax on mineral products except coal and coke imposed under Section 151 shall not be creditable or refundable even if the mineral products are actually exported. Okay. So, hindi raw pwedeng i-refund yung excise tax na binayad mo on mineral products. Teka lang. Yun. Hindi mo raw pwedeng i-refund yung ibinayad pagka coal and coke. Sabi, coal and coke, hindi siya creditable and refundable. Kapag nagbayad ka na ng excise tax on coal and coke, yun yung mga exceptions na kahit i-export mo yan, hindi refundable o creditable yung tax na bubuwisan talaga sa madaling salita. Okay, Section 131, payment of excise taxes on importer articles. Section 131 na to Okay, letter A, persons liable. Excise taxes on imported articles shall be paid by the owner or importer to the Customs Office conformably with the regulations of the Department of Finance and before the release of such articles from the Customs House, or by the person who is found in possession of articles which are exempt from excise taxes other than those legally entitled to exemption. Kasi nga may mga legally entitled to exemption, di ba? Na articles. In the case of tax-free articles brought or imported into the Philippines by persons, entities, or agencies exempt from tax which are subsequently sold, transferred, or exchanged in the Philippines to non-exempt persons or entities, the purchasers or recipients shall be considered the importers thereof and shall be liable for the duty and internal revenue tax due on such importation. The provision of any special or general law to the contrary, notwithstanding the importation of cigars and cigarettes, distilled spirits, and wines into the Philippines, even if destined for tax and duty-free shops, shall be subject to all applicable taxes, duties, charges, including excise taxes due thereon. Daming buwis pagka bisyo, no? Provided, however, that this shall not apply to cigars and cigarettes, distilled spirits, and wines brought directly into the duly chartered or legislated free ports of the Subic Special Economic and Freeport Zone, okay, crafted under RA 7227, Cagayan Special Economic Zone. Yan, hindi raw yan mag-a-apply doon. Zamboanga City at yung Zamboanga City Economic Zone. Yan. And are not transshipped to any other port in the Philippines. Provided further that importations of cigars, cigarettes, distilled spirits, and wines by a government-owned and operated duty-free shop like Duty Free Philippines shall be exempted from all applicable taxes, duties, charges, including excise tax due thereon. Okay, exempted raw sila pag duty-free. Provided still further that if such articles directly imported by a government-owned and operated duty-free shop shall be labeled tax and duty-free and not for resale. Kailangan mailagay mo yun na tax and duty-free at not for resale. Kaya nga illegal po yung bibili ka ng mga produkto ng nasa duty-free tapos ilalabas mo siya. Diba may kukuntsabayan ka, maglalabas ka ng produkto, nabenta mo ng mura tapos papatungan mo ngayon ng buwis sa labas pag binenta mo, bawal yon. Baga tutubuan mong matindi. Kaya hindi binubuwisan ng mga excise taxes yung mga cigarettes, distilled spirits, cigars ng isang government-owned and operated duty-free shop katulad nga ng Duty Free Philippines. Kailangan may nakalagay doon na tax and duty-free and not for resale. Provided still further that if such articles brought into the duly chartered or legislated free ports under RA 7227, 7922, and 7903 are subsequently introduced into the Philippine Customs Territory, then such articles shall, upon introduction, be deemed imported into the Philippines and shall be subject to all imposts and excise taxes provided herein and other statutes. Ayun. Okay. Provided finally that the removal and transfer of tax and duty-free goods, products, machinery, equipment, and other similar articles from one free port to another free port shall not be deemed an introduction into the Philippine Customs Territory. Articles confiscated shall be disposed of. So kung kunwari yung sinabi natin kanina, Subic duty-free to Zamboanga duty-free, hindi siya deemed o hindi siya pag-iisipan ng batas as introduced to Customs Territory. Ibig sabihin, free pa rin siya. Tax and duty-free pa rin siya. Articles confiscated shall be disposed of in accordance with the rules and regulations to be promulgated by the Secretary of Finance upon recommendation of the Commissioner of Customs and Internal Revenue upon consultation with the Secretary of Tourism and General Manager of the Philippine Tourism Authority. The tax due on any such goods, products, machinery, equipment, or other similar articles shall constitute a lien on the article itself, and such lien shall be superior to all other charges or liens irrespective of the possessor thereof. Okay, letter B, section 131 pa rin tayo, rate and basis of the excise tax on imported articles. So unless otherwise specified unless otherwise specified imported articles shall be subject to the same rates and basis of excise taxes applicable to locally manufactured articles. So kung hindi naman daw ipagpapalagay ng batas, wala namang ibang probisyon o wala namang sasabihin siguro si Secretary of Finance, ganun din ang turing sa kanila pagdating sa pagbabayad nila ng excise taxes sa mga sinisigil ng excise taxes sa locally manufactured products. Section 132, mode of computing contents of cask or package. Every fractional part of a proof liter equal to or greater than a half liter in a cask or package containing more than 1 liter shall be taxed as a liter, and any smaller fractional part shall be exempt. Ano yan? Sabi niya, every fractional part of a proof liter equal to or greater than half liter. Okay. Pag kalahating litro o lalagpas doon ay bubuwisan siya as if siya ay 1 litro. At any smaller fractional part shall be exempt, sabi. But any package or spirits, the total content of which are less than a proof liter shall be taxed as 1 liter. Ganun ang pagbubuwis sa mga alak, no? Diyos Maria Josep. Okay, magtungo na tayo sa Chapter 2, Exemption or Conditional Tax-Free Removal of Certain Articles. So, wala pa rin mga binagong train dito, so tuloy-tuloy lang tayo. Okay, exemption or conditional tax-free removal of certain articles. Section 133, removal of wines and distilled spirits for treatment of tobacco leaf. Sabi rito, upon issuance of a permit from the Commissioner and subject to the rules and regulations prescribed by the Secretary of Finance, sabi, manufacturers of cigars and cigarettes may withdraw from bond free of excise local and imported wines and distilled spirits in specific quantities and grades for use in the treatment of tobacco leaf to be used in the manufacture of cigars and cigarettes. But such wines and distilled spirits must first be suitably denatured. Section 134, domestic denatured alcohol. Domestic alcohol of not less than 180 degrees proof. Okay. 90% absolute alcohol ang ibig niya sabihin doon. Shall, when suitably denatured and rendered unfit for oral intake, be exempt from the excise tax prescribed in Section 141. Provided, however, that such denatured alcohol shall be subject to tax under Section 106A of this code. So, hindi na excise tax kasi hindi naman siya pang inom, diba? Unfit for oral intake eh. So, ibang buwis ang ipapataw sa kanya. Provided further that if such alcohol is to be used for automotive power, pang automotive power siya, it shall be taxed under Section 1480 of this code. Provided finally that any alcohol previously rendered unfit for oral intake after denaturing but subsequently rendered fit for oral intake after undergoing fermentation, dilution, purification, mixture, or any other similar process shall be taxed under Section 141 of this code, and such tax shall be paid by the person in possession of such repossessed spirits. So, ibig nila sabihin, kunwari, sinabi, unfit for oral intake, tapos nagkaroon ng mga proseso ng dilution, purification, etc. Naging fit. Biglang, pang-inom na pala ito. So, bubuwisan siya. Excise tax pa rin, ano. Section 135, petroleum products sold to international carriers and exempt entities or agencies. Petroleum products sold to the following are exempt from excise tax. Ito yung mga petroleum products na binenta sa letter A, international carriers of Philippine or foreign registry on their use or consumption outside the Philippines, provided that the petroleum products sold to these international carriers shall be stored in a bonded storage tank and may be disposed of only in accordance with the rules and regulations to be prescribed by the Secretary of Finance upon recommendation of the Commissioner, letter A yun. So, pag ikaw ay isang international carrier, no? Ayan, usually exempt yung mga yan eh. Letter B, exempt entities or agencies covered by tax treaties, conventions, and other international agreements for their use and consumption. Provided, however, that the country of said foreign international carrier or exempt entities or agencies exempt from similar taxes, petroleum products sold to the Philippine carriers, entities, or agencies. Yan. Okay. So, dapat doon sa provided, sabi nila, yung mga exempt entities na sinasabi natin, dapat exempt din yung mga entity natin. Yung mga ini-exempt natin dito, exempt din sa kanila. Ganon. And letter C, entities which are by law exempt from direct and indirect taxes. Di ko lang alam kung ano ito mga to. Gobyerno siguro. Baka government, no? Okay, section 136. Denaturation, withdrawal, and use of denatured alcohol. So, any person who produces, withdraws, sells, transports, or knowingly uses or is in possession of denatured alcohol or articles containing denatured alcohol in violation of laws or regulations now or hereafter in force pertaining thereto shall be required to pay the corresponding tax in addition to the penalties provided for under Title 10 of this code. Section 137, removal of spirits under bond for rectification. Spirits requiring rectification may be removed from the place of production to another establishment for the purpose of rectification without prepayment of the excise tax, provided that the distiller removing such spirits and the rectifier receiving them shall file with the commissioner their joint bond conditioned upon the payment by the rectifier of the excise tax due on the rectified alcohol. Provided further that in cases where alcohol has already been rectified either by original and continuous distillation or by redistillation, no loss for rectification and handling shall be allowed, and the rectifier thereof shall pay the excise tax due on such losses. Provided finally that where a rectifier makes use of spirits upon which the excise tax has not been paid, he shall be liable for the payment of the tax otherwise due thereon. Section 138, removal of fermented liquors to bonded warehouse. So any brewer may remove or transport from his brewery or other place of manufacture to a bonded warehouse used by him exclusively for the storage or sale in bulk of fermented liquors of his own manufacture, any quantity of such fermented liquors not less than 1,000 liters at one removal without prepayment of the tax thereon under a permit which shall be granted by the commissioner. Such permit shall be affixed to every package so removed, and shall be cancelled or destroyed in such manner as the commissioner may prescribe. Thereafter, the manufacturer of such fermented liquors shall pay the tax in the same manner and under the same penalty and liability as when paid at the brewery. Section 139, removal of damaged liquors free of tax. Sabi niya, when any fermented liquor has become sour or otherwise damaged so as to be unfit for use as such, brewers may sell, and after securing a special permit from the commissioner under such conditions as may be prescribed in the rules and regulations prescribed by the Secretary of Finance, itong brewers may remove the same without the payment of tax thereon in cask or other packages distinct from those ordinarily used for fermented liquors, each containing not less than 175 liters with a note of their contents permanently affixed thereon. Section 140, removal of tobacco products without prepayment of tax. Products of tobacco entirely unfit for chewing or smoking may be removed free of tax for agricultural or industrial use under such conditions as may be prescribed in the rules and regulations prescribed by the Secretary of Finance. Maraming mga hindi nakalagay dito mismo sa batas pero ang nagpe-prescribe niyan, in-empower ng batas na ito yung Secretary of Finance na magawa ng regulasyon para sa iba't ibang mga sinasabi dito. Stemmed leaf tobacco, fine cut shorts, the refuse of fine cut chewing tobacco, scraps, cuttings, clippings, stems, or midribs, and sweepings of tobacco may be sold in bulk as raw material by one manufacturer directly to another without payment of the tax, under such conditions as may be prescribed in the rules and regulations prescribed by the Secretary of Finance. Stemmed leaf tobacco raw means leaf tobacco which has had the stem or midrib removed. The term does not include broken leaf tobacco. Okay. Magtungo tayo sa Chapter 3, Excise Tax on Alcohol Products. So malamang ito yun yung mga iniinom-inom, no? O hindi naman, basta alcohol products ang sabi. So, Section 141, Distilled Spirits. On distilled spirits, there shall be collected, subject to the provisions of Section 133 of this code, excise taxes as follows. Letter A. If produced from the sap of nipa, coconut, cassava, kamote, or buri palm, or from the juice, syrup, or sugar of the cane, okay, provided such materials are produced commercially in the country where they are processed into distilled spirits per proof liter, 8 pesos daw. Okay, yung mga na-produce dun sa mga nabanggit. Provided that if produced in a pot, still, or other similar primary distilling apparatus by a distiller producing not more than 100 per liters a day, so hindi naman lumalipas ng 100 liters ang napaproduce niya, containing not more than 50% of alcohol by volume per proof liter, piso. Okay, so yun ang letter A. Letter B, if produced naman daw from raw materials other than dun sa mga nabanggit, the tax shall be in accordance with the net retail price per bottle of 750 milliliter volume capacity excluding excise tax and value-added tax as follows. Okay. Per 750 ml, ganito siya ibubuwisan. Number 1, less than 250 pesos. Ang halaga niya, 75 pesos per proof liter. Number 2, 250 pesos up to 675 pesos, 150 ang buwis niya per proof liter. And number 3, pagka more than 675 pesos ang halaga, 300 pesos per proof liter. Ang pagbabasehan mo raw ay yung net retail price, no? Ano pa ba? Letter C. Medicinal preparations, flavoring, extracts, and other preparations except toilet preparations of which, excluding water, distilled spirits for the chief ingredient shall be subject to the same tax as such chief ingredient. Okay, sabi niya lang, this tax shall be proportionally increased for any strength of the spirits taxed over proof spirits, and the tax shall attach to the substance as soon as it is in existence as such, whether it be subsequently separated as pure or impure spirits or transformed into any other substance, either in the process of original production or by any subsequent process. Spirits or distilled spirits is the substance known as ethyl alcohol, ethanol, or spirits of wine, including all dilutions, purifications, and mixtures thereof, from whatever source, by whatever process produced, and shall include whiskey, brandy, rum, gin, and vodka, and other similar products or mixtures. Yung daw sinasabing proof spirits is liquor containing 1/2 of its volume of alcohol of a specific gravity of 7,939 thousandths at 15 degrees centigrade. A proof liter means a liter of proof spirits. Okay. 1 litro ng proof spirits. The rates of tax imposed under this section shall be increased by 12% on January 1, 2000. New brands shall be classified according to their current net retail price. For the above purpose, ang ibig sabihin ng net retail price ay ang price at which the distilled spirit is sold on retail in 10 major supermarkets in Metro Manila, excluding the amount intended to cover the applicable excise tax and the value-added tax as of October 1, 1996. So pag-alak ka pala, no? Iisipin mo, magbabayad ka ng excise tax and value-added tax. Yun yung pinapasa mo sa consumer. So, mahal na talaga ng alak. A classification of each brand of distilled spirits based on the average net retail price as of October 1, 1996, as set forth in Annex A shall remain in force until revised by the Congress. Section 42, wines. Wine. No? Sabi rito on wines, there shall be collected per liter of volume capacity the following taxes. So, letter A, pagka sparkling wine, champagne, kahit anong proof pa yan, regardless of proof, if the net retail price per bottle is, hindi pa kasama excise tax dito at VAT ha. Number 1, pagka ang net retail price mo ay 500 pesos or less, 100 pesos ang buwis mo. Hindi pa kasama yung hindi pa kasama yung excise tax and VAT dyan ha. Number 2, kapag ka ang iyong more than 500 pesos ang iyong sparkling wine, 300 pesos ang iyong Sus Mariosep, 300 pesos ang iyong excise tax. Ibig niya sabihin na hindi kasama excise tax at VAT doon sa iyong selling price. Sinasabi lang natin yung ibebenta mo siya ng net retail price as if wala pang buwis. So kung gano'n ang halaga, gano'n ang halaga ng buwis. Yun ang paliwanag dito. Ulitin natin, kung 500 pesos ang benta mo, net retail price, ang benta mo is 500 nang wala kang pinatong na VAT, wala kang sinama pang excise tax. Basta sa isang mundo na magbebenta ka nang wala kang iniisip na buwis, ang benta mo 500 pesos pababa, ang excise tax na ipapataw sa is 100. Kapag naman ang net retail price may 500 pesos, 300 pesos ang excise tax mo. Letter B, still wines containing 14% of alcohol by volume or less, 12 pesos daw ang buwis. So, mas malaki yung buwis sa mga sparkling wines at champagnes, no? Kaya ano yan eh, iniinom nila Mayweather yan eh, no? Letter C, still wines containing more than 14% but not more than 25% of alcohol by volume, 24 pesos. Fortified wines containing more than 25% of alcohol by volume shall be taxed as distilled spirits. Fortified wines shall mean natural wines to which distilled spirits are added to increase their alcoholic strength. The rates of tax imposed under this section shall be increased by 12% on January 1, 2000. So, ilang percent na kaya ito ngayon, no? Baka hanggang ngayon 12% pa rin yung pagkaka-increase niya ng 12% noong 2000, yun pa rin. Pero parang hindi eh, parang tumaas ang presyo ng alak eh. Maging ng sigarilyo, yun ang aking observe. New brands shall be classified according to their current net retail price. For the above purpose, net retail price shall mean the price at which wine is sold on retail in 10 major supermarkets in Metro Manila, excluding the amount intended to cover the applicable excise tax and the value-added tax as of November 1, 1996. So, tama yung paliwanag natin ng net retail price, no? The classification of each brand of wines based on its average net retail price as of October 1, 1996 as set forth in Annex B shall remain in force until revised by the Congress. Punta naman tayo rito. Mahaba rin ito, no? Section 143, fermented liquor. So, there shall be levied, assessed, and collected an excise tax on beer, lager beer, ale, porter, and other fermented liquors, except hindi kasali dun yung tuba, basi, tapuy, and similar domestic fermented liquors in accordance with the following schedule. So, letter A, if the net retail price per liter of volume capacity, ganun din ulit, hindi nila nilagay dun sa presyo nila pa. Wala pa yung excise tax and VAT. Yung paliwanag natin kanina, yung in a perfect world, kung hindi mo magbebenta ka na hindi mo iniintindi yung halaga ng buwis na ipapasa mo sa consumer, which is yung VAT, at yung buwis na babayaran mo, specified tax, which is yung excise tax, ang net retail price mo, na alinsunod yan sa kung paano yun ibebenta ng 10 supermarket daw sa Metro Manila, no? So, if the net retail price mo per liter of volume capacity is less than 14 pesos and 50 centavos, 14.50, the tax shall be 6 pesos and 15 centavos per liter. If the net retail price naman daw, okay, the tax per liter, if the net retail price, the per liter of volume capacity is 14 pesos and 50 centavos up to 22 pesos, the tax shall be 9 pesos and 15 centavos per liter. If the net retail price mo naman per liter of volume capacity is more than 22 pesos, the tax shall be 12 pesos and 15 centavos per liter. Yun ang schedule niya. Variants of existing brands which are introduced in the domestic market after the effectivity of RA 8240 shall be taxed under the highest classification of any variant of that brand. Fermented liquor which are brewed and sold at microbreweries or small establishments such as pubs and restaurants shall be subject to the rate in paragraph C hereof. The excise tax from any brand of fermented liquor within the next 3 years from the effectivity of RA 8240 shall not be lower than the tax which was due from each brand on October 1, 1996. So, the rates of excise tax on fermented liquor under paragraphs A, B, C hereof shall be increased by 12% on January 1, 2000. New brands shall be classified according to their current net retail price. For the above purpose, net retail price shall mean the price at which the fermented liquor is sold on retail in 20 major supermarkets in Metro Manila, excluding the amount intended to cover the applicable excise tax and the value-added tax. For brands which are marketed only outside Metro Manila, the net retail price shall mean the price at which the fermented liquor is sold in 5 major supermarkets in the region, excluding the amount intended to cover the applicable excise tax and the value-added tax. The classification of each brand of fermented liquor based on its average net retail price as of October 1, 1996, as set forth in Annex C, shall remain in force until revised by the Congress. Di ko alam kung na-revise na ba nila yan. A variant of brand shall refer to a brand in which a modifier is prefixed or suffixed to the root name of the brand, and or a different brand which carries the same logo or design of the existing brand. Every brewer or importer of fermented liquor shall, within 30 days from the effectivity of RA 8214, within the first 5 days of every month thereafter, submit to the Commissioner a sworn statement of the volume of sales for each particular brand of fermented liquor sold at his establishment for the 3-month period immediately preceding. Any brewer or importer who, in violation of this section, knowingly misdeclares or misrepresents in his or his sworn statement herein required any pertinent data or information, nagmisrepresent siya, nagsinungaling, shall be penalized by a summary cancellation or withdrawal of his or its permit to engage in business as brewer or importer of fermented liquor. Any corporation, association, or partnership liable for any of the acts or omissions in violation of this section shall be fined a treble ba ito? O triple? Siguro, basahin na lang natin as is treble. Sabi niya. The amount of triple siguro to. Triple the amount of deficiency taxes, surcharge, and interest which may be assessed pursuant to this section. Triple siguro to. Any person liable for any acts for any of the acts or omissions prohibited under this section shall be criminally liable and penalized under section 254 of this code. Any person who willfully aids or abets in the commission of any such act or omission shall be criminally liable in the same manner as the principal. If the offender is not a citizen of the Philippines, he shall be deported immediately after serving the sentence without further proceedings for deportation. So maya babasa na tayo sa Chapter 4, Excise Tax on Tobacco Products. Maya paborito ko yan dahil yosi-yosi yan eh. So magbe-break lang ako, babalik ako. Okay, tuloy na natin ang ating pagbabasa-basa, no? Para makagawa na ako ng ibang mga bagay naman. Okay, Chapter 4 ng National Internal Revenue Code pa rin o yung tax code natin. Kasama ang mga pagbabagong dinulot ng train law. Okay. Nasa Chapter 4 na tayo, yung excise tax on tobacco products. So, Section 144. There shall be collected a tax of 75 centavos on each kilogram of the following products of tobacco. So sabi nga rito, 75 pesos per kilogram. Letter A, tobacco twisted by hand or reduced into a condition to be consumed in any manner other than the ordinary mode of drying and curing. Letter B, tobacco prepared or partially prepared with or without the use of any machine or instruments or without being pressed or sweetened. Letter C, fine cut shorts and refuse scraps, clippings, cuttings, stems, and sweepings of tobacco. Fine cut shorts and refuse scraps, clippings, cuttings, stems, and sweepings of tobacco resulting from the handling or stripping of whole leaf tobacco may be transferred, disposed of, or otherwise sold without prepayment of the excise tax herein provided for under such conditions as may be prescribed in the rules and regulations promulgated by the Secretary of Finance upon recommendation of the Commissioner if the same are to be exported or to be used in the manufacture of other tobacco products on which the excise tax will eventually be paid on the finished products. On tobacco specially prepared for chewing so as to be unsuitable for use in any other manner, on each kilogram ay 60 centavos. So mas mababa ang buwis sa bawat kilo kapag yung tobacco ay para sa chewing. Yan. Magpunta tayo sa section 145 dahil may pagbabagong ginawa dun sa train law. No? Tignan nga natin. Okay. Cigars and cigarettes. Letter A, cigars. There shall be levied, assessed, and collected on cigars an excise tax in accordance with the following schedule. So, effective daw on January 1, 2013. Panahon ni Pino ito. Letter A, an ad valorem tax equivalent to 20% of the net retail price. Ganun na naman, ibig sabihin ng net retail price. Alam nyo na ha. Per cigar. And letter B, in addition to the ad valorem tax herein imposed, a specific tax of 5 pesos per cigar. So, grabe naman, may ad valorem tax ka na, which is yung 20% of the net retail price. Tapos, meron ka pang ad valorem tax of 5 pesos. Edi 5 pesos na sa bawat cigar, no? Number 2, in addition to the ad valorem tax herein imposed, a specific tax of 5 pesos imposed under this subsection shall be increased by 4% effective on January 1, 2014 through revenue regulations issued by the Secretary of Finance. So, yun ang sa cigars. Paano naman yung cigarettes? Ayan, Sus Mariosep, dito ako naapektuhan Cigarettes packed by hand, sabi dito. There shall be levied, assessed, and collected on cigarettes packed by hand an excise tax based on the following schedule. So, ganito yun. Effective on January 1, 2018 until June 30, 2018, 32 pesos and 50 centavos per pack. Kaya nagkanda doble-doble. Pero iba pala to, packed by hand naman to. Effective July 1, 2018 until December 31, 2019, 35 pesos per pack. Effective on January 1, 2020 until December 31, 2021, 37 pesos and 50 centavos per pack. Effective, so ganun nakalaki, so tataas pa. Effective on January 1, 2022 until December 31, 2023, 40 pesos per pack. So yan ang nilagay ng train law. Ay, sus Mariosep. The rates of tax imposed under this subsection shall be increased by 4% every year on January 1, 2024 through revenue regulations issued by the Secretary of Finance. Paano naman cigarettes packed by machine? Malamang ito yung binibili nating lahat, ano? There shall be levied, assessed, and collected on cigarettes packed by machine a tax at the rates prescribed below. So, ganito siya. Effective on January 1, 2018 until June 30, 2018, 32 pesos and 50 per pack. Sus Mariosep, kaya doble na ang halaga ng presyo ng ano. Effective on July 1, 2018 until December 31, 2019, 35 pesos per pack. Effective January 1, 2020, ngayon taon lang, until December 31, 2021, 37 pesos and 50 centavos per pack. Tapos January 2022 hanggang 2023, 40 pesos per pack. Sus Mariosep. So, kung binibenta ang isang, magiging mga 100 pesos na per pack. Baka higit pa, yung mga Philip Morris, Marlboro, sobrang, mamahal na ng putik, libo na yung halaga ng rim. The rates of tax imposed under this subsection shall be increased by 4% every year thereafter, effective January 1, 2024, through revenue regulations issued by the Secretary of Finance. Duly registered cigarettes packed by machine shall only be packed in 20s and other packaging combinations of not more than 20. So 20 sticks ang ibig sabihin per pack. Understatement of the suggested net retail price as much as 15% of the actual net retail price shall render the manufacturer or importer liable for additional excise tax equivalent to the tax due and difference between the understated suggested net retail in price and the actual net retail price. Cigarettes introduced in the domestic market after effectivity of this act shall be initially taxed, classified according to their suggested net retail prices. Ay, ibig sabihin daw ng suggested net retail price ay the net retail price at which locally manufactured or imported cigarettes are intended by the manufacturer or importer to be sold on retail in major supermarkets or retail outlets in Metro Manila for those marketed nationwide and in other regions for those with regional markets. Yun ang ibig sabihin. Ibig sabihin naman ng net retail price ay shall mean the price at which cigarette is sold on retail in at least 5 major supermarkets in Metro Manila, excluding the amount. Ito na naman yung discuss natin kanina, hindi kasama yung amount intended to cover the applicable excise tax and the value added tax. So, kunwari, ang intended mo lang, net retail price is 30 pesos per pack. Tapos, daragdagan mo ng, ano na ngayon, 2020 na. Dadagdagan mo ng 37 pesos and 50 per pack. So, magiging halaga ng isang sigarilyo na ay 67, isang kaha ng sigarilyo ay 67 pesos and 50. Daragdagan mo pa ng 12% VAT. So, yung 12 plus yung 12% ng 30. So, yun ang magiging halaga ng isang kaha. Sus Mariosep. Hirap na magyosi na. Okay. Asan na ako? Ayun. Okay. Kaya may Congressional Oversight Committee. Chuchu pa siyang sinasabi. So, anyway, criminally liable siya, sabi rito. Sadali, basahin natin yung kanyang penal provision, no? Ito. Sige, basahin na natin lahat para mas maganda. Yung net retail price shall be determined by the Bureau of Internal Revenue through a price survey under oath. Proper tax classifications of cigarette, whether registered, bago daw yung effectivity ng act na to, shall be determined every 2 years. All cigarettes existing in the market at the time of the effectivity of this act shall be classified according to the net retail prices and tax rates provided above based on the latest price survey of cigarettes conducted by the BIR. The methodology and all pertinent documents used in the conduct of the latest price survey shall be submitted to the Congressional Oversight Committee on the Comprehensive Tax Reform Program created under RA 8240. So may oversight function ang Kongreso, di ba? Pwede nilang aralin ito. No tobacco products daw manufactured in the Philippines and produced for export shall be removed from their place of manufacture or exported without posting of an export bond equivalent to the amount of the excise tax due thereon if sold domestically. So magbabayad, para pa rin silang binuwisan, pero hindi naman. Naglaan lang sila ng bond. So kasi 'di ba, pag i-export natin usually zero rated. For export zero rated, pero kung ibebenta mo yan dito, magkano yung halaga ng bubuwis mo? So yun ang halaga ng bond na ibabayad mo sa gobyerno para makapag-export ka. Tobacco products, no? of the total volume of cigarettes sold in the country, sabi, any manufacturer or seller of tobacco must procure at least 15% of his tobacco leaf from locally grown resources. Ayun, maganda naman yun. At least 50% daw ng tobacco leaf, raw material galing sa locally grown sources. Manufacturers and importers of cigars and cigarettes daw shall within 30 days from the effectivity of this act and within the first 5 years of every month thereafter submit to the Commissioner a sworn statement of the volume of sales for cigars and for cigarettes sold for the 3-month period immediately preceding. So within the 30 days daw and within the first 5 days of every month, buwanan, sa loob ng 5 days, every month magsasubmit itong mga manufacturers and importers ng cigars and cigarettes ng kanilang sales. Parang sa alak din, di ba? Nabasa natin kanina. So, ito na yung mga penal provisions. Any manufacturer or importer who, in violation of this section, misdeclares or misrepresents, di ba, in his or its sworn statement herein required any pertinent data or information shall, upon findings by the Commissioner that the violation was committed, be penalized by a summary cancellation or withdrawal of his or its permit to engage in business as manufacturer or importer of cigars or cigarettes. Any corporation, association, or partnership liable for any of the acts or omissions in violation of this section shall be fined treble yung term na ginagamit. Baka mali ako sa pinalitan ko kanina, triple. So treble the aggregate amount of deficiency taxes, surcharges, and interest which may be assessed pursuant to this section. Akala ko triple eh. Any person liable for any of the acts or omissions prohibited under this section shall be criminally liable and penalized under Section 254 of this code. Any person who willfully aids or abets in the commission of any such act or omission shall be criminally liable in the same manner as the principal. If the offender is not a citizen of the Philippines, he shall be deported immediately after serving the sentence without further proceedings for deportation. Naalala ko lang yung Mighty Company. Dati nung nagmahalan sigarilyo, naghahanap ako lagi ng pinakamurang sigarilyo sa market. Natuklasan ko yung Mighty. So, nung time na nag-600 per rim na o nag-700 pesos per rim na yung mga Marlboro Lights, Philip Morris, ganun na rin halos ang presyo ng mga Winston Lights. Winston Lights ako for so long. Nag-shift ako, nag-Fortune Lights ako for so long din nung nagmamahal na. Tapos, nagmahal palalo, naging ganun na yung presyo ng Fortune Lights. Nahanap ko yung Mighty. So, yung Mighty, during the time na nahanap ko siya, nasa mga 350 pa rin siya per rim. So, lumalabas na sabihin mo ng 30 pesos per pack pa rin ang halaga niya. Hanggang sa yun pala, kaya niya kaya magbenta ng ganun kasi nakakatakas siya sa pagbabayad ng buwis. Imagine mo, natakasan niya yung, siguro ang pinatong niya lang, VAT, hindi niya naipatong yung excise tax na 37 pesos. So, dapat, ang halaga niya na is 30 pesos plus 12% VAT ng 30 pesos. Plus the 37.5 ba yun na dinagdag ng excise tax. So, yun ang dapat na selling price ng isang kaha. So, nakipag-areglo, ang pagkakalam ko nakipag-areglo ang Mighty Philippines para bayaran niya sa BIR yung mga deficiency taxes niya. Kaya ngayon, ang Mighty, as of this moment, nasa mga 650 pataas na rin. Ang rim nila, napakamahal na rin. So, kailangan ko na maghanap ng mga ibang sigarilyo. Hindi pala kailangan, naghahanap na ako talaga. Ibang mga sigarilyo na hinahanap ko na mas mura. Oh, anyway, that is section 145, no? Kasama yung mga pagbabagong idinulot ng train law. Okay? So, punta naman tayo. Saan naman tayo pupunta? Sa section, dito tayo. 146. 146. Okay. Ito, inspection fee. Sabi niya, for inspection made in accordance with this chapter shall be collected a fee of 50 centavos for each 1,000 cigars or fraction thereof. 10 centavos naman for each 1,000 cigarettes or fraction thereof. 20 centavos for each kilogram of leaf tobacco or fraction thereof, and 3 centavos for each kilogram or fraction thereof of scrap and other manufactured tobacco. Dami na, may bayad-bayad pa. Huwag na natin masyadong basahin yan. Basta may bayad yung inspection. Section 147, definition of terms. Sabi niya, cigars means all rolls of tobacco or any substitute thereof wrapped in leaf tobacco. Cigarettes naman, ibig sabihin niya, rolls of finely cut leaf tobacco or any substitute therefore wrapped in paper or in any other material. Wholesale price shall mean the amount of money or price paid for cigars or cigarettes purchased for the purpose of resale regardless of quantity. Letter D, retail price shall mean the amount of money or price which an ultimate consumer or end user pays for cigars or cigarettes purchased. Okay, magpunta tayo sa Chapter 5, excise tax pa rin, di ba? Specific tax ito excise tax. Tax on specific articles. So, excise tax on petroleum products, magsisimula siya sa Section 148 na may pagbabagong ginawa ang train. Okay, Section 148, manufactured oils and other fuels. There should be collected on refined and manufactured mineral oils and motor fuels the following excise taxes which shall attach to the goods hereunder enumerated as soon as they are in existence as such. Sabi rito, effective January 1, 2018, sabi sa train law, letter A. Pag lubricating oils and greases, including but not limited to base stock for lube oils and greases, high vacuum distillates, aromatic extracts, and other similar preparations and additives for lubricating oils and greases, whether such additives are petroleum-based or not, per liter and kilogram respectively of volume, capacity, or weight. 8 pesos daw, sabi niya, effective January 1, 2018 to. Provided that lubricating oil and greases produced from base stocks and additives on which the excise tax has already been paid shall no longer be subject to excise tax. Provided further, hirapan na ako magsalita, that locally produced or imported oils previously taxed as such but are subsequently reprocessed, refined, or recycled shall likewise be subject to the tax imposed under this section. Letter B, processed gas per liter of volume capacity, 8 pesos per liter ha. Letter C, waxes and petrolatum per kilogram, 8 pesos din. Letter D, undenatured alcohol to be used for motive power per liter of volume capacity, 8 pesos siya, provided that unless otherwise provided by special laws, if the denatured alcohol is mixed with gasoline, the excise tax on which has already been paid only the alcohol content shall be subject to the tax herein prescribed. For the purposes of this subsection, the removal of denatured alcohol of not less than 180 degrees proof o yung 90% proof ng alcohol, no, shall be deemed to have been removed for motive power unless shown otherwise. Letter E, dami siyang dilagdag naphtha, regular gasoline, yung pyrolysis gasoline and other similar products of distillation per liter of volume capacity, 7 pesos sila. Sabi niya ganyan. Okay. Huwag na natin masyadong basahin yung mga per ano nila. Meron pa, sandali basahin na natin pala. Unleaded premium gasoline, 7 pesos per liter ang kanilang excise tax. Aviation turbojet fuel, yung aviation gas per liter volume capacity, 4 pesos. Kerosene, 3 pesos per liter of volume capacity. Diesel fuel oil, mas mababa ito, 2 pesos per liter, 2.50 per liter of volume capacity. Liquefied petroleum per kilogram, 1 peso, provided that liquefied petroleum gas, when used as raw material in the production of petrochemical products, subject to the rules and regulations to be promulgated by the Secretary of Finance, shall be taxed 0 per kilogram. Pag ginamit mo siya, yung liquefied petroleum gas, pag ginamit as raw material in the production of petrochemical products. Letter K, asphalts per kilogram, 8 pesos. Letter L, bunker fuel, sabi nilang ganyan. Per liter of volume, 2.50. provided that the excise tax is paid on the purchase-based stock o yung bunker used in the manufacture of excisable articles and forming part thereof shall be credited against the excise tax due therefrom. And letter M, sabi niya rito, petroleum coke per metric ton, 2 pesos daw and 50 centavos provided. However, that petroleum coke when used as feedstock to any power generating facility, pag ginamit siya sa power generating facility, 0 pesos. No? Pag ano naman sa January 1, 2019. Letter A. Sabi niya, lubricating oils and greases including but not limited to base stock for lube oils and greases, high vacuum distillates, aromatic extracts, and other similar preparations, and additives for lubricating oils and greases, whether such additives are petroleum-based or not, per liter and kilogram respectively of volume, capacity, or weight, 9 pesos daw. Provided that lubricating oils and greases produced from base stocks and additives on which the excise tax has already been paid shall no longer be subject to excise tax. Provided further that locally produced or imported oils previously taxed as such but are subsequently reprocessed, refined, or recycled shall likewise be subject to the tax imposed under this section. Haba nito Letter B, processed gas per liter of volume capacity, 9 pesos. Waxes and petrolatum, 9 pesos per liter. Denatured alcohol used for motive power, 9 pesos per liter. Naphtha regular gasoline, pyrolysis gasoline, and similar products of distillation, 9 pesos per liter. Ang buwis. Unleaded premium gasoline per liter of volume, 9 pesos. Ganon, aviation jet fuel, aviation gas per liter volume capacity, 4 pesos. Kerosene, bakit parang nauli? Tumaas na lang. Ito na yung schedule niya pag 2019. Pataas na pataas. So, huwag na natin basahin yan. Sabi dito, for the period covering 2018 to 2020, the scheduled increase in the excise tax on fuel shall be suspended when the average Dubai crude oil price based on mean of Platts Singapore for 3 months prior to the scheduled increase of the month reaches or exceeds $80 per barrel. Okay, sabi pa rito, yung Department of Finance shall perform an annual review of the implementation of the excise tax on fuel and shall based on the previous projections provided and recommendations of the Development Budget Coordination Committee, no? Magre-recommenda sila ng mga implementations. Ang dami pang dinagdag ng fuel markers. Ito, dinagdag ng train law to, Section 148A. Mandatory marking of all petroleum products. In accordance with rules and regulations, sabi ng Secretary of Finance, no? Syempre, in consultation with the Commissioner of Internal Revenue, Commissioner of Customs, nakipag-coordinate din siya with the Secretary of Energy. The Secretary of Finance shall require the use of an official fuel marking or similar technology on petroleum products that are refined, manufactured, or imported into the Philippines that are subject to the payment of tax and duties, such as but not limited to unleaded premium gasoline, kerosene, and diesel fuel oil after the taxes and duties thereon have been paid. The mandatory marking of all petroleum products shall be in accordance with letter A, official markers. Sabi there shall be a list of chemical additives and corresponding quantitative ratio as identified by the Secretary of Finance as official markers. The official markers shall be distinct and to the greatest degree possible, impossible to imitate or replicate. The official fuel marker must be unique to the Philippines and that its chemical composition and quantitative ratio must persist for at least 3 years from their application or administration to the unmarked fuel. So, may fuel marker daw, no? Letter B, the person, entity, or taxpayer who owns or enters the petroleum products into the country or the person to whom the petroleum products are consigned shall cause and accommodate the marking of the petroleum products with the official marking agent. Letter C, Internal Revenue or Customs officers shall be on site to administer the declaration of the tax and duties imposed on the petroleum products. And letter D, absence of official or dilution of the official marker. In the event daw that the petroleum products na hindi nagko-contain ng official marker o yung official marker are diluted beyond acceptable percentage proved by the Secretary of Finance, nakita siya sa domestic market, it shall be presumed that the same were withdrawn with the intention to evade the payment of taxes and duties thereon. So, hindi ko masyadong naiintindihan itong fuel marker, pero ang tingin ko rito, yung may hinahalo ka dun sa fuel na magiging palatandaan siya na, kunwari, Shell. Gasolina ito ng Shell. Yun siguro, ano? Letter E, the use of fraudulent marker on the petroleum products shall be considered prima facie evidence na gusto mong mag-evade ng iyong gusto mong umiwas sa pagbabayad mo ng buwis. Letter F, engagement of fuel marking provider. The government shall engage only one fuel marking provider who shall, under the supervision and direction of the Commissioners of Internal Revenue and Customs, siya ang magiging responsible for providing, monitoring, and administering the fuel markers, provide equipment and devices, conduct field and confirmatory tests, and perform such other acts incidental or necessary to the proper implementation of the provisions of this act. Alinsunod yan sa testing facilities na certified raw ng ISO 17025. Punta tayo letter G, all costs pertaining to the procurement of the official fuel markers shall be borne by the refiner, manufacturer, or importer of the petroleum products. Letter H, fuel marking program funds. Sabi niya, in addition to any appropriation to implement this section, and the last paragraph, sabi niya, ayan, fees and charges collected in relation to the fuel marking program may be recorded as trust receipts of the implementing agencies and shall be exclusively disbursed to defray the cost of services or equipment required to fully implement the said program, subject to the rules and regulations to be issued by DOF, DBM, COA, and COA Permanent Committee. Letter I, the marking of petroleum products shall be mandatory within 5 years from the effectivity of this act. Sa pagitan ng 5 years, no? So, kailan pa ba nagsimula ang train law? 2017 ba? Or 18? So, 5 years, no? Kailangan kompleto na yung fuel marking mo, no? Kung ikaw ay nasa larangan ng, ang tawag dito? Kung ikaw ay nasa larangan ng refiner ka, manufacturer, or importer ka ng petroleum products. Letter J, the term random field test shall refer to periodic random inspections and tests performed para makita nila tama ba yung fuel marker mo. Yung confirmatory tests daw shall refer to the accurate and precise analytical test of the tested and marked adulterated or diluted fuel using a device, tool, or equipment which will validate and confirm the result of the field test. Siyempre, dapat ISO. Dapat, inano yan ng ISO, no? Sana ako. Ano ba to? Meron din palang train sa 150. Ano, na-miss ko to, ano? 149. Saan yung 150? 150A, 150B. Dali, Yan natin kung gaano pa kadami yung sa petroleum. 151, ang dami, mineral products. Chapter 2 na to, excise tax pa rin. Okay. Okay, so magtapos na tayo. Pagod na ako, magbasa-basa, no? So doon tayo nagtatapos sa 150, no? Section 150. Doon sa excise tax on petroleum products, no? So excise tax, yung tobacco, wine, and petroleum. So next time naman, excise tax naman on mineral products tayo magsisimula. So God bless you all at sana nag-enjoy kayo sa pagbabasa-basa natin ng buwis at subukan natin ulit ipaliwanag ang mga batas. Subukan lang natin in layman's term. Pray muna tayo. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and never shall be, world without end. Amen. To the Father, the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. So God bless.